Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the meeting. Remind everyone that we are being broadcast live and that in the event of a fire alarm, everyone should immediately leave the building through the nearest door, which is just outside and to our left. Follow officers and assemble in the car park near Clarence House. And that anyone who is looking to join our Wi-Fi, the Swindon free Wi-Fi password is success, goals, welcome, all lowercase, all one word. If we move on to item number 1, apologies for absence. We have one apology for absence, which has been received from Councillor Bell-Sheikh. Move on to item number 2, the declarations of interest, and just remind members that you should declare any known interest in any matter to be considered in line with the new code of conduct implemented from the 1st of September. Make a declaration during the meeting should it become apparent that you have an interest in the matters to be discussed. Does anyone have a declaration that they want to make at this time? Excellent. So if we move on to item number 3, are we all happy with the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of September, and are we happy to confirm their accuracy? Aye. Excellent, thank you. So I will sign those. We can move on to public question time. We've got 15 minutes for public questions. We haven't had any received prior to the meeting. Are there any members of the public who would like to ask a question? I will take that as a no. So we will move on to item number 5, which is the Swindon Youth Justice Service Strategic Plan 2025-2026. Minute of confirmation to Council, and I'm going to hand over to Councillor Dixon to introduce the report, propose the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the purpose of this report is to approve and update a strategic plan for the Swindon Youth Justice Service 25-26, and this supports the Council's mission for building a fairer Swindon and reducing disadvantage and disparities in life outcomes. And I'd like to thank Melissa Smith, the Interim Service Manager for the Youth Justice Service, for compiling the report for tonight. And the key recommendation for Cabinet is that we approve and publish the strategic plan and the implementation by the Swindon Youth Justice Service and its partners. We do have a legal and statutory responsibility in Section 40 of the Crime and Disorder Act to produce and implement an annual youth justice plan, and that's a condition of receiving funding. The plan must be approved by full council as government regulations stipulates. I'd just like to highlight some of the key priorities within the plan for this year, as agreed by the Youth Justice Management Board in April 2025. And these are to reduce first-time entrants, lower reoffending rates and offences per child, reduce the use of custody, including police custody and remands, tackle youth violence, addressing disproportionality, especially among children from global majority backgrounds, supporting victims of crime, and becoming a centre of excellence for children in identity development practices, increasing participation through identity-focused practice, improving outcomes for children with speech, language and neuro disabilities, and focusing on children and young people not in education, employment or training, and reducing those rates, and strengthening referrals pathways to health, mental health and substance misuse. I think, as I said, the plan relates to our Swindon plan, also links in with the community safety strategy and safeguarding partnership priorities, the police and crime plan, and the Pan Wiltshire serious violence duty strategy. And the work is all based around trauma-informed practices, tailored approaches to the needs of young people. The plan is attached to the report as well, so I'd put this forward for Cabinet to accept the recommendations.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to second this report. I think it's excellent. I think the work around the child first approach is really important, and would urge everyone who hasn't already listened to the recent Radio 4 documentary about the service to take that on board. It's a brilliant half hour of radio that really sets up the good work that's happening in this area, and hopefully the report and the strategy show how we're going to try and build on the really good work that's happening and try and take it forward as a strategy. Really keen to see if there's any other questions or comments from the rest of the Cabinet.
I'm just going to say thank you to Melissa again as well.
I think, yeah, huge thanks. Yeah, to Amanda and the team. And yeah, definitely to, again, make sure you listen to the radio show. It's really good and well worth catching on the iPlayer or BBC Sounds, whatever it's called. Are we happy then to approve that strategy and take it forward?
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. If we move on now to item number 6, the budget management update, and I will hand over to Councillor Small.
Thank you, Jim. Members of the turn to the second page 100. You'll notice that the overspend is now at 4.8 million, which is an increase of about £1 million, which again is still worrying that we seem to be going in the wrong direction at the present time. The main areas of concern is in children's services, where again we have a larger number of young people coming to care. Placements costs are now 5.6 million over the budgeted cost. We've also seen an increased cost pressure of 1.2 million on the semi-independent provision. This is basically down to the fact that the average placement costs have gone from what was budgeted of 86,000 to around about 153,000 per placement. This is almost doubled the initial cost. There is also pressures of 881,000 in the fostering budget. Again, that's due to extra placements. As you know, which I've reported on in occasions in the past, this is all been due to that, the number of young people that we've coming to care over the last few months. There has been some mitigation in this, which is staffing underspend of 143,000. On adult services, they've done exceptionally well. They have made an improvement on their budget position, still overspent by just under £250,000, but they have found savings of 68,000 over the year. The savings plan is also on track with predicted to get to 7.1 million of 37.6 million predicted savings. There is also a pressure of 214,000, which is for new people requiring support. But what we have been able to do is look to offset that with about an additional 200,000 in additional contributions and about 268,000 in staff savings as part of the mitigation in those areas. Moving on to the inclusive economy, there's been just a slight change from last time. They are around 23,000 overspent. Enabling services remained 223,000 overspent. This is an adverse movement of around about 13,000 from the last report. On prevention and communities, we've seen again a slight increase from the overspending of this 962,000. Unfortunately, finance and audit are underspent by 2.25 million. This is a large chunk of that has come from the review of the 24-25 aid term and the grant changes which have been brought forward and was reported at the last meeting. Work is also underway to assess the Treasury budget forecast and see whether there can be some improvements in this area, and that will be part of my next report to the Cabinet. On the savings tracker, you'll see, Chair, that we've delivered 65% of the savings identified, and also that we're forecast to deliver 94%, which is a lot higher than we've done over the last few years, which the average has been between 80 and 82%. The dedicated schools budget remains at 8.6 million overspent for the year, which is, when you add the totals together, 23.7 million. Again, no change on that position or where the government position is on actually having to find that money. And when you look at some of the authorities that are in their dedicated schools budget, we don't want to be 23 million overspent in that area. Compared with some authorities, we're in a very good position. And you take, I think, I'm told in Bournemouth and Paul, theirs is around about 100 million, and they're not much bigger than us as an authority. Turning to the housing revenue account, there's 1.8 million overspend. This is 240,000. Most of that due to the electrical testing programme, which has had higher costs than was expected. The voids have increased. The pressure is again of 30k as well. On the public health, there's a net overspend of 29,000, which worryingly is an increase of 112,000. So therefore, they were underspent beforehand. Most of that is due to the pay reward outcomes from the public health nursing service. Also, Chair, just to on my report, if you look then to page 107, which is at 3.45 and 3.46, this outlines the relocation of the OK4U costings, and there's a capital budget of 465 or 466,000 funded through borrowing was agreed by the Cabinet in 25-26. This is just an update on that project, but further consultation with interested partners has identified a requirement for an additional capital funding of 140,000. This is to take on board some of the comments made by parents and interested parties. I believe the MP, the local MP was also involved, and Heidi Alexander made some comments about some of the things that she needed. It's also fencing for the project. It's also one of the areas that needed to be covered as part of the changes, and that's why this additional money is now being requested as part of the recommendations. Chair, I have to report on 3.47 that the Morden Recreation Home Council of Housing has now basically fallen through. This is mostly due to the fact that the Keepmoat, who are the owners, or potential owners of the site, have to be on site pretty quickly due to the fact of the tendering process. And remember, they got let down by the original suppliers. We were going to come in. There was a delay to the process, which put some risk onto them starting on beginning or sometime in November. They have now found another partner that's been able to come in, and I believe they signed terms very shortly. So we will not be carrying on with that particular thing, but the same number of social houses are to be provided. So that's still a good news story for social housing provision within the borough. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second of Councillor Small?
I'll move recommendations, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Really useful report. Good to set out where we are. Frustrating to have that news around children's services in the budget. And I think another reminder, in case the Swindon Advertiser reporter wants it, that the cost of placements in children's services are ridiculously expensive, and there are private companies making huge amounts of money out of budgets which are meant to support the most vulnerable children in our society. We continue to work with the government to try and change this. It was really pleasing to note there are a number of sessions on this at the recent Labour Party conference, and hopefully the government will come forward with some plans on this fairly soon, because we can't keep spending council money on supporting private companies to get rich when that money is meant to support the most vulnerable children in our society. I'm going to keep on making that argument until I can find someone to listen. Any other questions or comments for Councillor Small? Happy to approve the report. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. So if we move on to item number, whatever the next one is, 7, which is the Adult Services Care Quality Commission report outcome, and I'll hand over to Councillor Bournemouth.
Thank you. This report provides the Cabinet with an update on the outcome of the Quality Care Commission's assessment. This assessment looks at the way in which the Council discharges its adult social care duties. The overall rating is required improvement and is 1 point away from a good rating. This outcome is still subject to a rating assurance review in relation to governance, management and sustainability quality statement, which, if upheld, will elevate the overall figure to 64, which would give us a rating of good. The Cabinet is recommended to consider and note the outcome of the Quality Care Commission assessment and but there are priority areas. The key strengths: positive working culture underpinned by a commitment to learning and improvement, clear vision, everyone having a home, a friend and a purpose, a strong leadership, effective commissioning, well-functioning partnerships, early intervention in live well on offer. The Council remains fully committed to addressing all our highlighted for improvement in the report. Although this was a disappointing result after a delay of 7 months, the Cabinet appreciates the work of all the staff in adult social services and the improvements which they have made over the last 18 months and continue to make. The recommendation that you accept the report from the Commission.
Thank you very much. Happy to second. It's a really frustrating, I think, to get the report that detailing where we are with 1 point being away from a good rating. But I think the important thing for us to remember as a council is we want the services to be as good as we can possibly make them. It's positive to know, reading the report, some really good work that is happening in Swindon to support adults. And there is definitely more for us to do to improve that service. And we will continue on that improvement journey. Really annoying, I think, in some ways that it's taken so long since the actual inspection was done to get the report. But we need to keep working really hard as a council to keep improving those services and make sure they're as good as possible.
Grace will speak on the improvement plan if you.
I would very much like to hear that, Grace. Over to you.
So we have identified some key areas for improvement in our self-assessment. Those have been confirmed by CQC. So no new key areas of focus have been identified at this time. We're now working towards a deadline in January to submit to the Department of Health and Social Care a detailed improvement plan, which will be shared with the Cabinet member and colleague. Happy to go into more detail with example.
Yeah, feel free.
Okay. So the first theme, and arguably one of the most important themes in the CPC assessment process, is about how we work with people. So we got a requires improvement in that theme. And predominantly that feedback we got from CPC and we know is really important to the people we support is around reducing waiting times. So across the boards for assessments and reviews. So that will be a key area of focus, is to make sure people don't wait longer than they should for access to assessments. CPC noted the improvements around working together, which is a strategy that's come through Cabinet, but they want to see that embedded. It's too early to see the impact of that. So that's another area of focus. We also need to improve the recording of our equality, diversity and inclusion data, again noted as something they could see improvement, but just taking time to embed. In terms of theme 2, there were no areas for improvement identified in that theme. We got a good on the commissioning and partnership themes. Theme 3, in terms of requires improvement, the real focus there is around stabilising out of hours access to approved mental health practitioners. Again, something we've known is on the corporate risk log. We're focusing on improving, and we're already halfway there thanks to our head of data, digital and insights, and implementing our integrated care record with the health service to ensure we have better access to people for the people we support. And then theme 4 is the theme that's subject to a rating assurance review, because at this time it's not clear what the improvement areas would be on the report, so we're seeking some more clarity on that. So that enables us to be really focused on the key improvement priorities. And as you say, we're very much committed to improving that.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Councillor Strinkowski.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm not really liking the detail of this, but one does get updates, right? And in the exhausting, excruciating 7 months that Red's been waiting to tell us that, you know, we've got the report, what really stood out to me, and what I thought was so impressive, is that nobody was waiting for the report to start working on the improvements. Like if they had actually done this in a timely manner, like if they came back now and they wouldn't have anything to tell us to improve, because you guys just went ahead and did the work. And I found that really proactive and very, very impressive, and well done to everybody in the directorate and to Ray.
Yeah,
Go on,
I
Councillor
do
Baldwin.
very little. There was nothing in the CQC report that wasn't already in a self-assessment. So there was never a time when the officers stopped working on that self-assessment. The self-assessment was done in January and February, and so they've been working on it, which would, before you know, will be a year. When the CQC came in, they looked at ourselves, well, they already had our self-assessment, and they've not come up with anything. We knew that our waiting times were too long. So that was already there. But the reason it took so long is that everybody has kept working. I think the disappointing thing is, how can you miss out on good by 1 point? And I think that is a disappointing thing. But I think all the cabinet should praise the adult social services, not only for saving money, and according to the CQC, we only spent 27%, so I don't know what you're moaning about.
I think we're moaning about the CQC's accuracy in some areas, but a really important point that you just made, Ray, there is a definite congratulations to all the staff concerned for their hard work and their efforts, and we're very much appreciative as a cabinet for that. It'd be great to get that minuted. Any further questions or comments? Happy to note that report. Excellent, thank you very much. Which takes us on to the final item on the agenda, the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan review and update from Councillor Chris Watt.
Thank you, Chair. This is an update of the 1922, so I'll start again, the 2022 Swindon Borough Council adopted local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, the LC WIP. It's got quite a nifty name to it. So now 3 years on from that, so we're having to refresh it, but we're also trying to get it to fit in more into the Build a Better Swindon mission, and for the fitting with Swindon plan between 2024-2027, and also get it into, we've got it into a state now where we can go out to consultation. So that consultation starts at the end of November and it goes on for 3 months. It's had a lot of work done with key groups as it is, but this is a wider consultation now with those recommendations to see what can come back and shape it even better before we start moving forward. Once we have that final plan, then that puts us in a position where we can start to look at pots of money that are coming from central government. We want shovel-ready plans that we can go to central government, to make sure that we're in a good place to get as much as we can. And also we've got a lot of development going on, so there's a lot of Section 106 money that we want to put into this as well to try and move these forward. It's a 10-year plan. And this will be an excellent starting place for it. So, massively support the recommendations.
Excellent. Do we have someone to second these? Thank you, Councillor Bushell. And do we have any questions or comments? Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Chair. Really welcome this, and just note that although this report technically sits under the Better Swindon mission, clearly this is fits keenly, that's a word, within the greener Swindon mission. I think it's an example of how we're starting to really join things up within the council. All the missions, are linked, directorates working together, and the green threads really starting to run through council policy. Also note there's absolutely a link to the fairer Swindon mission in terms of residents being more active, fitter, health, mental health, physical health, all that sort of thing. So it's a real positive, and look forward to the outcomes of the consultation. I think I've expressed or suggested this to you earlier, Chris, but I do wonder whether there's a suggestion that within this, as it's currently presented, there's maybe a prioritisation of cycling over walking, whether that's something we can consider as part of the consultation. Again, thinking about perhaps the fairer aspects, perhaps arguably more women walk than cycle, I think, against some of the age issues in terms of people who walk rather than cycling. It's more accessible, requiring a lower level of fitness. So partly to note that, and if you've got any comments on that now, that would be really good to hear. Okay, I mean, I don't think I know any sort of cycleways that are specifically for cycling only. They are normally made as a shared space, and sometimes they're split into two as well.
You're also right, it does fit into a lot of sections. We've also, we're trying to build our Safe Routes to School initiative at the moment, so that's going to fit into that as well, improving public health, keeping Swindon moving by having less cars on the road, which then hopefully reduces our bill on fixing roads. It just fits into so many different aspects of what we're doing in fairer, better and greener. So it is something that we really need to do. We need to push and do what we can to get that funding from central government. And if you look at another project, which is the decent money bus service improvement project, the fantastic work the officers did on that, getting the proposals up front allowed us to get some really good funding from central government. So it took, I think there was several attempts before where you're competing against other councils, and in previous years there's been absolutely nothing coming through. I think 2023 was the first time we got some money, which was 600,000. And then last year we got I think it was 2 million plus for our service improvement plan. Likewise, if we put the same effort into this, we're competing with other councils, so we need to make sure we have the right plan, make sure that we show that we've gone out and spoke to people and it's supported by the people at Swindon as well. So all that stuff is.
Excellent. I've got Councillor Small and then Councillor Strinkowski.
Thank you, Chair. I just very briefly to welcome the report firstly. And I think when you look at the going on from the contradiction to what the Deputy Leader just said about the cycling, but talk about cycling rather than walking, which even I do agree with what she said, is that we've got the connectivity between the southern, western and eastern flyers. I think that's to be welcome. I think that also what we need to be doing is that where we're looking to create that northern flyer, we need to keep trying to do that connectivity there. And it'd be welcome to see that it's included more than support. As a borough council, just invested a lot of money in a massive off-road cycling facility there. It would be important cycle routes that come into there. And so, and I also think that there's an opportunity for us to look at as part of this through the existing road network, pavement network in that sense, is a connectivity from the western flyer to that northern flyer through the Cheam Manor or whatever, because you've got a pavement wide enough there to support cycling and walking along that particular area. And this is something which we can bring up as part of the consultation process.
Okay, so very valid points. What I don't want to do is preempt the consultation. You know what I mean? So if you put those through, yeah, if you put those through the consultation, that would be great. But yeah, what's wrong?
Councillor Strinkowski.
Yeah, so also sort of relevant to the consultation, but also why I work. So completely agree with Emma that really this is, walking and cycling, just any kind of transport infrastructure cuts across all three of our missions. And on the fairer thing, again, something Emma said, yes, we do know that women cycle less than men, or more men cycle than women, and women walk more. But that is not because women can't cycle. It's because women have safety needs that tend to be completely ignored by the sorts of people who design these things. And as last full council, we passed a motion that said that we will create a cabinet member advisory group on violence against women and girls. And much as this may sound like not connected, it actually is connected, because the fear of violence against women and girls is what makes women engage less with these activities, with the walking as well at the end of the day, women walking after dark and all of that. We all know that, those things. So I think what would be really good, Chris, is once the CMAG is up and running, is maybe to have a conversation in that group about this plan as well, and kind of think just and kind of start the journey. And we're not even at the beginning of the journey. We've just bought the ticket to gender mainstreaming across all of our work, right? Because you cannot have a fairer Swindon without gender cutting across every aspect of our work. So just raising a flag for the future.
Okay, well, I can see the timing's quite good for that. Yeah. So we're starting this consultation through December, January, February. Your group should be out by then, I imagine. So if you have the next week, all right, okay. So essentially, that was your first agenda item, and we'll get thank you very much.
Not that I'm like running the CMAG.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Are we all happy to approve the strategy and report?
Very happy.
Excellent. Well done. That concludes the meeting. Thank you everyone for your time this Wednesday evening.